Imagine a villain so, like, terrifying that an entire golden age of human society actually threw a massive, desperate festival just to appease him.
Right, just to beg him to leave him alone, basically.
Exactly. And now imagine that to bring this ancient terror back to life in the modern day, you have to track down and actually eat his thousand-year-old mummified fingers.
Which is just so gross. I mean, according to the lore we're looking at today, those fingers taste exactly like grave wax and soap.
Ugh. Yeah, soap and grave wax. It's arguably one of the most uniquely disturbing ways to kickstart an apocalypse in modern fiction, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Because you are just reading an incantation from an old book to unseal a monster. You are physically ingesting like a millennium of concentrated malice.
Yeah, the physical revulsion of eating a soap-tasting mummified finger, it just perfectly sets the stage for the psychological horror that follows.
It really does. It's visceral right from the start.
Right. So welcome to today's deep dive. When you look at the wiki articles, the fandom breakdowns, and the exhaustive video transcripts we've pulled for this deep dive into Ryomen Sukuna,
The undisputed king of curses from Jujutsu Kaisen.
the one and only, you realize very quickly that you aren't just looking at, like, a typical villain's stat sheet. We are dissecting the anatomy of the ultimate antagonist today.
Yeah, because we really want to understand how his mythological origins shape his violence.
Exactly.
Okay.
We're going to see how his tactical genius breaks the fundamental rules of his own universe, and ultimately why his final clash with the protagonist is just this absolute masterclass in ideological warfare.
It really is a masterclass.
Yeah.
But, to really understand the philosophy of absolute selfishness that drives him, we have to start at the beginning.
Right. Take us back.
So if we look back over 1,000 years to the Heian Era, which the lore establishes as the absolute golden age of Jujutsu Sukuna, wasn't born as some ethereal, abstract, cursed spirit.
He was just a guy, right?
Well, he was born a human sorcerer. But his actions and his overwhelming power caused society to categorize him as an imaginary demon.
Man, the term imaginary demon is so striking. I mean, it implies he transcended human classification while he was still walking around breathing oxygen.
Yeah, they literally couldn't comprehend him as human anymore.
What does it take for a human to earn that title in an era where, like, everyone is already a superhuman sorcerer? I mean, he famously slaughtered elite squads like the Five Empty Generals, right?
He did. But it takes a level of inherent monstrosity that begins before you even take your first breath.
Wait, what do you mean?
Well, the source material highlights this deeply disturbing detail about his origin. To avoid starving to death in the womb, the infant Sukuna consumed his own twin brother.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he cannibalized his own flesh and blood before he was even born.
Wait, hold on. I was looking through the character genealogies in the notes, and there is a massive connection here regarding that twin, isn't there?
Oh, there is, because the soul of that consumed twin doesn't just disappear.
Right.
It cycles through the reincarnation process over centuries and eventually returns as the grandfather of the series protagonist, Yuji Itadori.
Are you kidding me? So the multi-generational family drama literally starts in utero 1,000 years ago.
Exactly 1,000 years ago.
That completely reframes the entire dynamic between Sukuna and Yuji. But, okay, so because of this prenatal cannibalism, Sukuna is born with a physical form that completely defies human biology.
Right, he absorbed his twin.
Yeah, we are talking about a towering man with 4 arms, 4 eyes, and a second fully functioning mouth located on his stomach.
Which is just a terrifying image.
It is. When I read the descriptions, I don't see a traditional bad guy. I see a walking natural disaster. He's like a hurricane with a superiority complex.
That's a great way to put it. And that biological abnormality translates into a staggering tactical advantage in a fight.
How so?
Well, in the Jujutsu magic system, sorcerers must use physical hand signs and spoken incantations to activate and empower their cursed techniques.
Like the casting time for a spell in a video game.
Exactly. But because Sukuna has 4 arms, he can continuously weave complex hand signs, while his other 2 arms are simultaneously pummeling you in hand-to-hand combat.
Wow, so he effectively reduces his casting time to 0 while maintaining maximum physical offense.
Exactly. Furthermore, that second mouth on his stomach can constantly chant empowered words to boost his attacks.
Oh, without him having to stop to breathe.
Right, without ever straining his actual lungs or interrupting his breathing up top. He operates at an action economy that no normal human could ever match because human biology simply doesn't allow for it.
It's like playing a fighting game against someone who has cheat codes hardwired into their controller.
Yes.
And it's fascinating because the creators anchored this bizarre biology in real-world Japanese history. The sources point directly to an ancient text called the Nihon Shoki.
Yeah, the Nihon Shoki.
Yeah.
It was compiled in the 8th century and details events all the way back to the 4th century reign of Emperor Nintoku. And in it, there's a legendary figure named Ryomen Sukuna from the Hida province. The text describes him as a tyrant with a two-faced head and 8 limbs, 4 arms, 4 legs.
So literal ancient myth.
Yeah, he reportedly terrorized ancient villages, wielding a multitude of swords and bows simultaneously, until he was finally defeated by a military commander dispatched by the imperial court.
So the DNA of this character is pulled straight from ancient myth, but, having 4 arms is just the hardware.
Right.
What really makes him terrifying is the software, is his profound, almost academic understanding of cursed energy. Let's look at his innate cursed technique, which is simply called shrine.
Yeah, shrine.
At first glance, it just looks like he shoots invisible blades, right?
But it's far more sophisticated than that. Shrine primarily consists of 2 types of invisible high-speed slashes.
Okay, what's the first one?
The first is dismantle. This is a standard ranged slash with a fixed output of power. He uses it to effortlessly dice up buildings, alter the terrain, or quickly dispatch weaker opponents.
So just a casual flick of the wrist and a skyscraper falls down?
Pretty much. But it's the second slash where things get incredibly technical.
Right, cleave.
Yeah, cleave. While dismantle has a fixed output, cleave is entirely adaptive.
Adaptive how?
When Sukuna uses cleave, the technique automatically calculates the target's physical toughness and the density of the cursed energy they're using to defend themselves.
Oh, wow.
And then it adjusts its own cutting power to ensure that the target is cut down in one single, clean motion, regardless of their defenses.
Man, it is literally an algorithm designed for guaranteed execution.
It really is.
But if being sliced into geometric shapes wasn't enough, he has this hidden ace up his sleeve. He chants the word open and unleashes an ability called Divine Flame.
Oh, this part is amazing.
The deep dive notes go into the physics of this, and it is mind-blowing. This isn't just a magical fireball. He creates a thermobaric explosion.
Yes. And to understand why that is so devastating, you have to look at the mechanics of his previous attacks.
Okay, lay it on us.
Well, when Sukuna uses dismantle and cleave to obliterate his surroundings, he creates a massive cloud of pulverized dust and microscopic debris.
Just from chopping up buildings and stuff.
Exactly. And when he unleashes Divine Flame, he imbues that suspended particulate matter with highly combustible cursed energy.
So he uses the air itself as the fuel.
Yep.
Because, like, a standard explosive grows its own oxidizer, but a thermobaric weapon, a fuel air bomb, ignites the surrounding atmosphere, creating a catastrophic pressure wave and an absolute vacuum.
Precisely. He doesn't just overpower his environment. He mechanically turns the destruction he just caused into the primer for an even larger bomb.
It demonstrates that his violence is never mindless. It's meticulously sequenced.
Always.
But the absolute pinnacle of his jujutsu engineering has to be his domain expansion, Malevolent Shrine.
Oh, without a doubt.
Because for a fan of this universe, it is an undisputed rule that a domain expansion requires a closed barrier. You trap your opponent inside a separate, inescapable pocket of space where your attacks are guaranteed to hit.
Right. That is the fundamental law of domains.
But Sukuna's domain doesn't have a barrier. He projects directly into the open air space. It is the equivalent of an artist choosing to paint a masterpiece on thin air instead of a canvas.
That's a perfect analogy.
So how does he break the laws of physics without the technique just collapsing on itself?
But he utilizes a concept known as a binding vow. It's basically a contractual exchange of cause and effect.
Like a magic contract.
Yeah. By intentionally not enclosing the space, Sukuna allows his victims a theoretical escape route. And by giving up the inescapable aspect of a normal domain, reality compensates him.
How does it compensate him?
By vastly increasing the effective radius of the attack.
So just by saying you can theoretically leave, the technique expands to nearly 200 meters.
Exactly. And within that 200-meter radius, the Malevolent Shrine relentlessly rains down, dismantle and cleave on everything living or inanimate until it is reduced to dust.
Wow. It is an inescapable blender formed by offering a technical escape route that no one can actually run fast enough to use.
He literally weaponizes loopholes.
He does. And he uses binding vows constantly to rewrite reality on the fly. Later in the lore, when he loses a hand and physically cannot make the hand sign required to launch a specific attack.
Oh, the world-cutting slash.
Yeah. He makes a rapid-fire vow to change the activation requirements. This allows him to launch a slash that targets not the person, but the spatial coordinates they occupy. He literally cuts the fabric of the world.
Which is insane.
It is. He even destroys and heals the cursed technique center of his own brain using reverse cursed technique just to reset his ability cooldowns.
Yeah, it is like intentionally overheating a computer CPU until it melts.
Yeah.
And then soldering it back together perfectly while the machine is still running, just to bypass a firewall.
That sounds agonizing.
It is, but his intellect is defined by knowing the exact limits of the physical and magical laws and knowing precisely what he can trade to bend them.
So we have established that he is a genius, virtually indestructible, walking disaster area.
Yes, to put it mildly.
But you don't orchestrate this level of destruction just for the fun of it. Or wait, maybe you do. What actually drives a being who can nuke a city by snapping his fingers?
Well, his entire worldview is rooted in an extreme form of social Darwinism, combined with pure hedonism.
Okay.
He believes that his overwhelming strength places him entirely outside the bounds of human morality. He views humans as insects, existing solely for his fleeting amusement or to be crushed if they are in his way.
Right, there is a line in the transcripts where he actively mocks the concept of human connection.
Oh yeah, he hates it.
He claims the only connection he will ever need is responding with lethal force to the sorcerers who step up to challenge him. To him, combat is the only valid form of conversation.
Right, exactly.
But I have to ask, if he genuinely views humans as bugs, why does he dedicate so much time and energy to psychologically tormenting Yuji Itadori? Like, you don't go out of your way to bully an ant.
You do if that ant represents a philosophy that threatens your entire sense of self. Yuji's very existence is an ideological attack on Sukuna. Yuji finds immense value in human connection. He refuses to accept meaningless suffering, and he draws his strength from empathy.
Right, he's the total opposite.
Exactly. If Yuji can become powerful while carrying the burden of loving others, it fundamentally invalidates Sukuma's thesis that isolation, cruelty, and selfishness are the only paths to true power.
And Sukuna is incredibly hypocritical about this natural order, isn't he?
Oh, incredibly.
He constantly lectures his opponents about how the weak should just gracefully accept death. Yet, the moment Gojo or Yuji actually pushes him to the brink of defeat, he clings desperately to life.
Yeah, he suddenly doesn't want to die gracefully.
No. He will use every dirty trick, steal bodies, and exploit every loophole just to survive. He doesn't believe in the survival of the fittest. He only believes in the survival of himself.
And that hypocrisy is the core of his character. He doesn't just debate his ideology of selfishness. He weaponizes it to break the souls of his enemies.
Yeah.
We see this executed with devastating precision during the Shibuya massacre.
Walk us through the mechanics of that, because it isn't just about a high body count, right?
Right. So during the Shibuya incident, Sukuna gains temporary control of Yuji's body. He initially fights a powerful cursed spirit named Jogo, impressively defeating Jogo using his own element of fire.
Showing off, as usual.
Exactly. Surprisingly, though, Sukuna pauses to sincerely acknowledge Jogo's strength.
Oh, a rare moment of respect.
But immediately after this rare moment of warrior's respect, he activates his open barrier domain and slaughters countless innocent civilians in the surrounding city.
Just casually reduces the city to a crater, and then he simply hands control of the body back to Yuji.
Yeah, and the timing is entirely deliberate. He wants Yuji to wake up surrounded by a sea of carnage that his own hands, technically speaking, committed.
That is so messed up.
It is an act of supreme psychological warfare designed to crush Yuji's spirit, to make him feel the suffocating weight of a massacre he was powerless to stop.
But the horrifying thing is, Shibuya was just a preamble to his real masterstroke.
Right.
The deep dive materials detail a trap called the N-Chain Binding Vow, and this is where Sukuna operates like a chess grandmaster who moves a pawn in the opening minute, only to reveal 50 moves later that it was a checkmate setup.
It's brilliant and evil. So very early in the narrative, Sukuna offers to revive Yuji from death under a strict contractual vow.
Okay, what are the terms?
Sukuna gets 1 minute of control over Yuji's body whenever he chants the word N-Chain. Yuji vehemently refuses until Sukuna adds a crucial stipulation.
Which is?
During that 1 minute, Sukuna promises he will not kill or hurt anyone.
And Yuji, being a selfless kid who is entirely focused on protecting his friends, accepts the deal.
Naturally.
But he forgets to include himself in the protective clause.
Yes, it is a devastating legalistic loophole. Months later, when the chaos of the culling game is at its peak, Sukuna finally chants N-Chain.
Oh, man.
He takes over. Adhering perfectly to the vow, he doesn't lay a finger on anyone else. Instead, he channels his cursed energy, rips off one of Yuji's fingers inflicting self-harm, which technically doesn't violate the agreement not to hurt others, and force-feeds it to Yuji's best friend, Megumi Fushiguro.
He forcibly abandons Yuji's body and hijacks Megumi's.
Yes. Yeah. And by taking Megumi as a vessel, Sukuna gains access to Megumi's highly versatile Ten Shadows technique.
Which is a huge power upgrade.
Exactly. But more importantly, he takes Yuji's dearest friend hostage from the inside out.
So twisted.
However, there is a mechanical problem. Megumi's soul is actively fighting back, acting as a resistor and severely dampening Sukuna's cursed energy output.
So how do you remove the resistor? You have to completely shatter Megumi's will to live.
Precisely. To submerge a soul in complete darkness, you must inflict unparalleled emotional trauma.
And Sukuna knows exactly how to do that.
He does. He orchestrates a scenario where he uses Megumi's own body and Megumi's own magical techniques to hunt down and murder Megumi's beloved sister, Sumiki.
Whose body had been possessed by an ancient sorcerer named Yorozu, right? He makes Megumi physically complicit in the murder of the one person he spent his entire life trying to protect.
It's incredibly dark.
He even weaponizes the emotions of an ally, Hana, who is deeply in love with Megumi.
Oh, that scene is brutal.
During a battle, Sukuna softens his face, perfectly mimics Megumi's voice, pretends the possession is broken, and asks for a hug.
Yeah, completely drops her guard.
And the exact second she drops her guard and embraces him, his head expands and he bites her arm completely off. He doesn't understand human emotion to feel it. He understands it purely to exploit its pressure points.
Which perfectly sets the stage for the climax of the entire saga. Because the final confrontation isn't just a clash of superpowers, it is the ultimate collision of these two irreconcilable ideologies.
The gauntlet Sukuna runs here is just absurd.
It really is a gauntlet.
He fights Satoru Gojo, surviving a point-blank hollow purple nuke by utilizing Megumi's stolen adaptation technique, Maharaga. Then he just keeps going. He fights Kashimo, Higuruma, Yuta, Maki. He takes continuous barrages, deadly domains, and an onslaught of reality-distorting black flashes from Yuji.
Just hit after hit.
He is getting hit with lightning bolts and god-tier martial arts, and he just keeps grinning.
He does. But the true turning point doesn't happen with a massive explosion. It occurs when Yuji finally manifests his own domain expansion.
Oh, I love this part.
If Sukuna's malevolent shrine is the ultimate expression of external destruction, Yuji's domain is the exact inverse.
Right. It pulls Sukuna into a quiet, vivid memory of a completely mundane train station in Yuji's childhood town.
Yes, exactly.
The juxtaposition is so jarring. I mean, after hundreds of chapters of high-octane bloodshed and complex magic systems, Yuji is literally just walking the king of curses through a quiet park.
A totally ordinary park.
They catch crawfish and a little scream. Yuji reminisces about throwing up after eating too much ice cream as a kid.
Yeah.
He is forcing a 1,000-year-old demon to experience the absolute most mundane fragments of an ordinary life. But why?
Because it is the philosophical counter-argument to everything Sukuna stands for. Yuji articulates this really profound revelation. Human life doesn't need to have some grand, overarching purpose or overwhelming strength to possess value.
Right.
It is precisely these small, mundane fragments of memory, the taste of ice cream, the quiet stream, that make life worth living. Humans aren't defined by their utility. They are defined by their capacity to experience and share these fleeting moments.
And then Yuji delivers the killing blow, and it's not a punch.
No, it's not.
He looks at this terrifying four-armed monster who just slaughtered half the cast, and he pities him.
Yes, pity.
He offers Sukuna mercy. He tells him to release Megumi, surrender, and he will allow Sukuna to live back inside his body.
And you have to realize, for a being whose entire identity is predicated on absolute superiority, being pitied by the boy he viewed as a worthless insect is the ultimate violation.
It's worse than death for him.
Exactly. A hollow purple might destroy his body, but pity destroys his fundamental reality.
It shatters his composure completely. The King of Curses, who just survived a gauntlet of demigods, erupts into an indescribable, blinding rage over a teenager offering him sympathy.
He loses his mind.
And that rage makes him sloppy. It creates the exact opening Yuji needs. Using a brilliant fake-out teleport coordinated with his ally Todo, who swaps places with a crow imbued with cursed energy, Yuji lands the decisive blows that finally rip Sukuna out of Megumi's body.
It's amazing. The thematic resonance of his defeat is just perfect. The unparalleled tactical genius was ultimately brought down by his utter inability to comprehend human empathy.
He just couldn't process it.
No, he couldn't predict a strategy fueled by selflessness, and
Yeah.
his ego couldn't survive the application of genuine pity. The most compelling villains challenge the hero's heart, not just their fists.
Absolutely. So, as you reflect on this massive stack of lore we've dug into today, think about the Sukunas in your own life.
Right. Not literal cannibal demons, obviously.
No, not literal demons, but the environments or ideologies that demand absolute ruthlessness, right? The forces that tell you vulnerability is a weakness, that only the strong survive, and that those quiet, simple moments don't really matter.
Yeah.
What Yuji proves is that holding fiercely onto the mundane value of human life isn't weakness. It is the most powerful resistance possible.
That's beautifully said. And there is a final lingering thought hidden in the deepest lore of the source material that challenges everything we've discussed today.
Oh, tell us.
After his ultimate defeat, in the transitional space of the afterlife, Sukuna actually experiences a rare moment of introspection.
Really? Sukuna?
Yes, speaking to the spirit of a fellow defeated curse. He confesses that if he hadn't feared being destroyed, if he hadn't been so terrified of being immolated by his own overwhelming curse, he might have been able to choose a different, less destructive path.
Wow. That is such a tragic irony to leave on. The undisputed king of curses, the walking natural disaster, might have just been a prisoner of his own terrifying reputation all along.
It really makes you think.
Could the most monstrous figure in history have been saved if only he possessed the courage to be a little less monstrous? It's definitely something to mull over the next time you encounter someone who seems to thrive purely on tearing others down.